Hey, Joe, you good, man?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I am good. Like I was saying, I'm not as angry after that. Like maybe I might be angry if we lose to Leicester next week. Maybe the anger might come back from today. But I think for now, I think the Cronenberg's definitely helped. So thanks for that.
No,
But yeah,
been on the consolidation gin and tonics this evening. So
yeah.
I know the feeling.
Maybe I'll do that after Leicester. But but yeah, what do you want to discuss? What's on your mind? What's been annoying you?
I think maybe a few things. I think probably the first thing which I just found fascinating. I saw someone tweet about this earlier, but this is apparently since 2013 we've only won two knockout games in the Champions League, and I'm not talking about ties. I'm not talking about that sort of thing, but actually winning the game in 90 minutes. And I think in 5 years or maybe 4 years of competition we weren't in one of the seasons. I just think that's an absolutely staggering statistic for a club who traditionally, we kind of perennial quarterfinalists, semi-finalists. Yeah, I mean that to me is just insane. But I think more on sort of to the looking at sort of tonight's game in Barcelona, and I know N'Golo Kante's had a lot of praise from people, and again I should caveat this by saying that by no means am I suggesting otherwise, that he had a fantastic performance, but we seem to be kind of heading into an area where our best player in these sorts of games tends to be the player in our team who's best out of possession and not in possession. And I think it's kind of indicative, I think, of where the team's been headed for maybe the past couple of seasons.
Yeah,
I think Kante is a fantastic ball winner, but when you've got the number one performing player, I think Willian had a pretty good game, but I think Kante was a standout.
Yeah,
but standout for the basis that he was
winning the ball,
just all over the place winning the ball. For me, that's a concerning thing, and I think particularly when you've got people looking at who's being paired with Fàbregas. I'm assuming for Fàbregas' creativity. I know you and I differ on Fàbregas and his role in the team, but yeah, I mean, I think going forward, I think Kante's role in the team, he's an incredibly crucial player, but I think the question I'd ask, and maybe this is me just being a little bit more provocative and trying to get your opinion on this, but is he a little bit too one-dimensional for a team such as Chelsea, particularly if you're playing two people in midfield? Can you get away with someone who is not that clinical or doesn't offer that much going forward these days?
You know what? I do understand your point exactly. I think the only thing I can add is the fact that I've always felt, maybe not until maybe in, let's say, when Mourinho, that second season where we played amazing football in the first half of the year, which a lot of us forgot about. Remember when Fàbregas clocked I think 140 passes against West Brom? Fàbregas to me, he's similar to like a Cruz, similar. It's similar. He's basically the same as Cruz. Dictates the play, plays a lot of short passes to help set the tempo. He's a tempo setter. I think with how Conte uses him, with how direct Conte likes his teams to play in general, this is why Cesc is constantly playing that ball. I mean, maybe Cesc would enjoy that, but at the same time, whenever he's played before at Arsenal, he was never spamming balls like that consistently. There was always a patient possession play, and this is what I mean. I kind of feel that, let's say there was the right managerial appointment, I think you could see a new side to Cesc. And I make this point, obviously, remember Pirlo, when he left Milan, everyone thought he was finished. He goes to Juventus, he's using a completely different way to how he was at Milan, and he's rejuvenated again. And I kind of feel that so many players have the opportunity to become rejuvenated, and it's just as simple as, if you have the system that suits them more, or if you play them in their, how they're naturally used, then you can get them to their best.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I've been quite consistent. I don't think, particularly against better opponents and better teams, I think maybe we've probably played 30 or 40 opponents probably since Fàbregas has been there. And I mean, if you could name 10 really top class performances off the top of your head, I would be surprised. But I mean, that's always been my contention, that with Fàbregas, he is one of the best paid players at the club, and he has been since he joined. I think he's on something like £165,000 a week.
Yeah.
Does he do enough in the top level games to control the game? And again, I take your point that a lot of it has been, stylistically clashing with maybe how Mourinho perceives football, and particularly Conte as well. But I think sometimes I just look at him, and particularly, you look at the Barcelona game in the first leg and the mistake in the game today. I think Christensen took a lot of flack for a pass that I think anyone who doesn't move like a turtle in sand probably catches in the first game. Again, I don't think it was an unreasonable pass. There was a kind of steal of the game doing the rounds where the ball looked like it was about a metre away from Fàbregas' foot.
Now, I think looking back at that, I think there was definitely a miscommunication for that back pass, because I think Christensen expected Cesc to move. Cesc expected to just receive it where he was because he was free. So
yeah,
that was annoying.
And I just think the same today. I just think so. I don't know. Maybe because he's playing more this season, he just seems to have lost that half a step, maybe sort of a little bit like JT last season, where he maybe lost that last bit of athleticism that he had. But I don't know. I think more for me, it's a concern of who partners Conte going forward, and maybe whether it's a formation change. I mean, I'm a really big fan of the 4-3-3 formation in general. I think actually
it's a classic.
Yeah, Kante's probably his position for me going forward would be as the holding midfielder in the 4-3-3 with probably two more attack-minded number 8/number 10 players. I think that would be a really good system for him. But I think just games like tonight again, and I think he had an excellent performance. But I think again, when he's probably the only midfielder capable of playing maybe in this level of opposition at the moment in the squad, sometimes you are limited by the fact that he is. I think it would be fair to say he's quite limited in terms of what he can do with the ball. And so from my perspective, it was just being a little bit more provocative with the question about Conte, because as I say, great performance, but you see players kind of today who maybe aren't as good defensively as him, but perhaps offer more going forward, and whether whether we need to sacrifice some of that defensive responsibility that he has, or some of that defensive acumen that he has for more kind of forward-thinking players.
You're right, and I agree with what you're saying, especially. And again, it brings up some interesting points. So, in regards to Kante too, you were making that point about, let's say games you can remember of Cesc. I'm not even trying to come from the tangent of trying to defend Cesc. I'm not even trying to think about that. But I'm just thinking, I can't remember too many games from Kante. And then I just realized, with managers, we don't really tend to try to win games to our midfield. And I think that point you made about obviously wanting to have the 4-3-3, I think with that formation, it's always about midfield control. In regards to Kante too, I know we do, we can be critical of his pass in the final third, but then it's got me thinking, why is a player of that stature and ability even having to make those type of passes in the final third? I mean, you see Busquets in the final third making passes like that. You won't see Makelele doing things like that. There's different roles for midfielders in football, and this is what I mean. I like to see a 4-3-3. I mean, I've been having fantasies of Kante, Ruben, and Thiago, if he was available, being that midfield three, because I think you've got the basis for everything: midfield control, possession play. They can both, you've got two players that can link up with the midfield, goal threat. And this is what I mean. We need to get back to a point where, like we used to have before, with your Lampards, Essieans, Ballack, midfield control. I think with Kante, he's a guy where you can get that. I think Cesc can, if you use him in a 4-3-3 with the other complementary player in that system as well. So this is why I'm looking forward to seeing who the next manager is going to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, on that, I think some of the guys that I've seen us linked to, and some of the names that I've heard, some agents and stuff that I know through who have links to the club. Have I think obviously Jardim is fairly obvious with the Lewis Campos stuff that's come out recently, and
that's exciting.
This is a guy who is 4-2-3-1, he's 4-3-3, 4-4-2, whatever. I think actually that you would maybe see a return to potentially having a traditional playmaker in the team, and for those of you who are interested in your academy players, I think Mason Mount potentially is an excellent number 10, particularly if you give him the responsibility of just sort of creating and scoring. Same with, potentially if you can keep hold of Hazard in the summer, I think again, playing a slightly more offensive-minded manager. I think that's the key. I mean, I was really impressed with a lot of the points that were made earlier. I think this squad is currently, I don't think it's the best squad we've had. I don't think it's the best composed or the best balanced, but I think without adding too much to it in the summer. If you were to recall some loan players, I think you have the foundation for a team that can at least attack games. I think even today you saw probably one of the only teams who will go to the Nou Camp this season. And I'm not one of those people that takes a lot of pride in defeat and then this sort of glorious, kind of Arsenification of the team where we outpassed Barcelona. But I think we took the game to them in ways that teams don't often do that. And whether that mentality would be adopted more going forward, I think you see the potential within this team that they can actually create. We obviously hit the woodwork 4 times across the 2 legs. I mean, that probably hasn't happened for us against Barcelona in a long time. So
no, it's the other way around normally.
It's always the other way around, and And I suppose the last point really that I think would be interesting to chat about is there seems to be not seems to be. I mean, I think people are fairly positive about the performance tonight, but should we be worried that we've played probably 2 teams who I think traditionally we would see ourselves as being quite level with. So City winning the league, that would typically be maybe been a United or Arsenal in the past that we would have been quite level with in terms of competitiveness. And again, Barcelona, we're probably their bogey team. We're probably the team that they least like to play.
Yeah.
Should we be worried that they, particularly City, barely got out of first gear and beat us quite comfortably?
Yes.
And Barcelona, I mean, we really. My one disappointment for the 2 legs is that we didn't press Barcelona to be at their absolute best. And I think you can make the point. Yes, they're a better team. They've got Messi. They've got this, that, the other. But I mean, and okay, yes, they capitalised on mistakes, but I think the disappointing thing is that we didn't push them to the Barcelona that they're capable of. They seem to just be very much cruise control, taking advantage of mistakes, sort of very almost kind of workmanlike. And we can be positive in the fact that we did take the game to Barcelona in some respects. But I look at the performance as a whole, particularly over both legs, and particularly with the City game. And I'm looking at the squad, and I think you've got a handful of players in there who are starting 11 quality, what I consider to be starting 11 quality at Chelsea. But I think that particularly City and maybe the game tonight. I mean, Barcelona didn't really. I mean, Messi turned it on for a minute here and there, and was just scoring and assisting. So it just felt a bit like we are. We're kind of very far away from where we need to be, or where I feel we should be as a club.
Yeah.
We are.
I mean, I'll sound really cynical, but I mean, that point you were making about obviously we used to be on level pegging with some of these other bigger teams like your Uniteds, Arsenal. Well, there seems to be a bit of a correlation between us struggling against these styles of teams and the managerial appointment, because I mean, I think Conte is the only one where since he's come, we're just not competing with teams on level. And even teams that are maybe a bit below our level, we play we play against our strengths against them, and
we play down to their level.
Yeah, we play down to their level, and that's not because the players just became bad overnight. That's because the manager approaches the game like that. And I mean, this is what I mean. The signs with Conte. I put out this tweet earlier today talking about obviously how I get frustrated that no one cares about foresight in football. It's just like people always act as if they're surprised when these things happen out of the blue. That's with how United fans are acting about Mourinho, as if you haven't seen what this guy's been doing in the league for how many years. And it just Conte is another example. I think we've been speaking about this too a lot of times. It's not as if any of his his talent is different. You know what I mean? So it's I just think he's a manager out of ideas, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest contention for me, and I've seen a lot of tweets and on social media aimed at Eden Hazard this evening about, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that he had a particularly good game, or I think people were maybe going slightly overboard trying to sort of sell him immediately after tonight. But this is a guy who, I mean, I would say for probably the last 5 years has been the number one creative outlet at the club in terms of what he does with the ball at his feet, in terms of his attacking passes into creating dangerous chances. And he's consistently been that way for the past 5 years. He's Player of the Year, he's won league titles, etc. If you compare him and his teammates to say, look at Kevin De Bruyne and the teammates he's got at City, look at Messi, look at Ronaldo, there's a massive disparity. In most cases, it is just Hazard. And you can look at you look at form, and Willian and Pedro go through patches of playing really well. I think Willian's going through an incredible patch of form at the moment, but we're not talking about consistently great players. And I think when you kind of factor that in, and also, you know, he's played under Mourinho, who effectively was trying to convert him into being a left back for most of his career, and then with Conte as well, you see this very tetchy relationship between the pair of them, where he's being played out of position, and he's, for the first time, probably been very public about not wanting to play in a certain area. And
yeah,
you know, I think some of the criticism is just a little bit overboard in that. You know, I think if you had a more kind of forward-thinking manager, as you're saying, or less kind of sort of into the kind of defensive details and focusing entirely on defensive shape and where people should be, etc., you probably see, you know, Hazard maybe kick on to the level. I don't think he's ever going to reach a level of Messi and Ronaldo when he was at his peak, but I think he can get pretty close. But I think he is massively inhibited by I mean, he's had these managers for 5 years. Like, let's not like pretend that it's not a significant portion of his career. Mm-hmm. He's probably just kind of entering his prime now. And you know, I mean, if he was going to be under Conte for another 3 years of his career, then he's probably not going to achieve what he wants to. So, you know, from his perspective, I think again, you know, you look at performances like tonight. It's very easy for good teams to just mark him. You know, and that's not because he's a bad player. It's because they go, okay. You know, okay, William might be in good form, and then so-and-so might be playing quite well, but let's just make sure we keep Hazard quiet. Where you look at Barcelona, if you try to mark Messi, you have Suarez, you have Dembele, you've got two midfielders who can run a game, you've got fullbacks who bomb on and score goals. You've got so many threats in that team compared to what Hazard's been playing with for the past probably the past couple of years. You know, even in the sort of title-winning seasons, he's very much been at the forefront. You know, you get rid of Diego Costa from him, who I think took a lot of attention away from him as well. So, you know, I'm not in any way, shape, or form excusing his performance tonight. I don't think, particularly because I think he started quite well. You know, he was quite bright for sort of the first 5-10 minutes, and then just seemed to. I think he beat a few players, put a cross in, and when no one was there, it was almost like he was just sort of shrugging his shoulders and this is kind of enough for me for this evening. But I think he you know, some of the comments I've seen tonight are a little bit. Let's sell all the Belgian players that we have tonight. But yeah, I mean, I would love to think that we can retain him for next season, even if it's just purely because he's got 2 years left on his contract, and just maybe see what we do get an attacking manager, or a manager who is a little bit more forward thinking, a little bit more progressive, to see what he can do. Because I think it's right. You know, you look at, for example, when Mourinho first came to Chelsea, I think maybe people might sort of forget this, but he really got into Terry and Lampard and players and was like, look, you're the best centre-back in the world. You're the best midfielder in the world. You're the best this, you're the best that. I think after Madrid, a lot of that Mourinho kind of died and sort of went to kind of Mourinho hell. But the kind of the difference between sort of, you know, that kind of management style of really kind of building your players up and bigging them up and making them feel invincible.
Yeah.
Has Hazard really had that? I mean, he's been called out by Mourinho publicly for not running backwards all the time, the same like Conte, you know, not suffering enough during games and that kind of stuff, rather than just, you know, being sort of given the freedom to be expressive. And you know, he's always compared to Neymar's and stuff like that. But I mean, look at the players they play with, look at the teams that they've played in. You know, it's such a different thing. And you can go on about, you know, he should drag the team along with him. But I mean, he pretty much has the 2 league titles.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's frustrating. I mean, again, we have all the ingredients to make something happen. Some of the players we have. I mean, our defense. I mean, quality defenders are at a premium in this market. Man City are a testament to that.
Yeah,
we've already got a ready-made one. You know, we've got guys like your Zuma, Christensen, Rudiger. They'll be here for how long? Then you've got guys in the youth team, Trevor, Chalobah. Actually, I actually wanted to ask you something in regards to him. Because there was one interesting thing no one really spoke about, and that's the fact that he signed a 3.5-year contract.
Yeah,
I thought they normally sign like it should be another 2 years on top of that, no?
So again, I'm not going to go too much because I do know I know both of Chalobah's agents personally. But there was a lot of let's say negotiation between the club and Chalobah for the contract this season. And I mean, you can understand it from Trevor's perspective, and I think his dad was obviously very concerned with the way that Chelsea was dealing with Nathaniel. You know, he came back and barely played, and then they were looking to kind of Conte was looking to push him out on loan again this season, and you know, the lack of stability. And I think that the main thing that I was told, and I don't think I'm revealing any secrets by telling this, but the agency and the parents wanted him to have some stability at the club, and they think actually for the next few years, the most stable environment for him, at least for the next few years, is to give him just a kind of shorter term deal than a lot of what the younger players had, and that's why this deal took absolutely ages. I think I might have mentioned to you on WhatsApp a while ago that this was kicking off in sort of like June, July, August time, that they were looking to sign him up, and it's taken nearly sort of 6-7 months to kind of finalise his contract. But I think with the 3 years now, 3.5 years, that the half obviously takes him up to the summer. I would imagine, again, this isn't really kind of letting anything out of the bag, but I would imagine that he's probably going to go on quite a long-term loan. So if it's 1 or 2 years, and obviously you've got that 1 year kind of buffer, if he comes back and he's a superstar, then obviously you can extend that. But if he comes back and, you might want to do a Nathan Ake and try and sort of spin him for money, which tends to be one of the Chelsea ways of doing things, then you've still got the year on the contract to try and sort of get some money on him. But I think from the club's perspective, I do think that there are some clauses in there that they can extend the contract, from what I've heard. That's not from his agents. That's more from the Chelsea side of things. I've heard that. But yeah, I think for him, and actually this may be something that a lot of the younger players try to do, is to obviously to maximise their own value, is to have a shorter contract. Because if you're hitting 21 and all of a sudden you're like a very hot commodity, say, I don't know, Callum Hudson-Odoi hits 21 with a year left on his contract, and he doesn't necessarily see that there's a pathway into the Chelsea team. Yeah, he can go and sign for Dortmund or whoever he wants to at 22, and I think it gives them a little bit more wiggle room. And I think again the positive thing would be that if he does go on loan, again, I think the message I got was there are a lot of really, really good clubs interested in taking Chalobah on loan, clubs that I'd be happy for him to go to, clubs that don't necessarily just want him to sort of head the ball and lump it up to a 6'8", 25 saying
Championship.
No, but they've again. You're talking potentially abroad. You're talking potentially in the Championship as well. And by abroad, I don't think Vitesse are in the picture for him. I think it might be similar to some loans that we may have had previously, and had successful loans previously. Again, you can sort of connect the dots on that one there.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I think that would be an interesting thing for him. And yeah, and I think the thing I would say, particularly with Chalobah, the club are very high on him. A lot of the people that I speak to around the club have told me that he's definitely a better player than Nathan was at this age, which I find quite. Oh, really? I find it quite interesting, because Chalobah was obviously playing Championship football at 17 and doing particularly well, but
14.
As technically and as a player, they think that he's got more chance of making it. So again, these are opinions of people that in most cases know what they're talking about. So it'd be very, very interesting to see him develop. And I think again, you saw him play a bit in midfield tonight. I think he'll probably drop back into being a centre back when he goes out on loan, potentially. I should say hypothetically if he goes out on loan. But I think he's one of as many, which I think particularly coming through this sort of group now, who are probably going to, you might start seeing a lot more interesting loan destinations rather than sending them to like Hull or to some kind of random League One side. I think again the other one I would look out for next season would be Mason Mount. They like to do these 2-year loan deals with the test, but I think particularly since like the game seems to have clicked for him, the game seems to have slowed down. He's kind of adjusted to adult football. I think probably quicker than Lewis Baker did in Holland as well. And he's really influencing games. He was fantastic against Ajax when they played him recently. And the thing is as well, I've noticed, particularly when you follow youth football, Mount he's really grown a lot. Like he's physically quite, he's coming into his own physically as well. So I always have these concerns that we always have these wonderful kind of little number 10s or number 6s, like your Charlie Colkits, your Mason Mounts and stuff like that. But Mount to me looks like he can take the.
But I mean, I know it's like a very tired point I always make, but people love to talk about Asensio from Real Madrid. Oh, if Hazard leaves, we need to bring in Asensio. First of all, Asensio doesn't want to come to us. He wants to stay at Real Madrid. And the second thing is we've got our own Asensio called Mason Mount, and I think he could actually be better than this guy because Asensio is more. I don't know. I just think they're very similar in terms of how they play. Their haircut, their shoes, how they got that. crazy shot power. They don't need a lot of backlift to take their shots as well.
Yeah,
can play people in, play in the half space. I mean,
I think Mount is what people thought Ross Barkley would become. Like when Ross Barkley was coming through as a young player, he had the physique, he had the technique, he had that sort of kind of bit of swagger about his play. But the difference with Mason Mount is I don't know if he was part of the World Cup team, but he definitely won like the European Championships. I think he won a tournament with England in the summer. He was an absolute stand-up player. And England don't really produce these kind of players who are complete technicians. But he's got the physical side of the game as well. I wouldn't be surprised, particularly in the sort of copycat culture where I think City have started playing 2 number 10s in midfield. Mason Mount potentially, that could be a role that you could see him play, because he does have a bit of the De Bruyne, the Silva about him. And the thing that he has, which I think is something that I don't think you can really teach. And Spanish, I think they call it la pausa, which is just this ability, this split-second ability to pick a pass and time it perfectly, perfect weight, perfect everything. It's what they said that the reason that Xavi came through the academy, despite him being like tiny and Iniesta being tiny, and they had this kind of quality that they looked for, this ability to pass. And I remember, talking to a scout who was the whole Lewis Baker thing, and he was telling me that Mount was one of these players that he could just pass the ball wherever he wanted to. Both feet, he's entirely comfortable, and that would be something I would love to see. Again, I'm not too well on formations, but again, he could be the kind of Lampard-esque sort of number 10 in a 4-3. He could be a traditional number 10. I think that the one thing that will really help him, if he can learn to play from either the left or right, and almost as kind of a very tucked in inside forward. I think that would benefit him hugely. I
think that would be the best, because I think how versatile he is. Obviously he can play in the half space. I think these not even these number 10 players are very different now compared to how they were a few years ago. I mean, this is why, to me, I still find it weird how Ozil has a bit of a career these days. I'm not gonna lie, because he is a very old school. He's like the last of the dying breed of the old school number 10s, but he doesn't dictate the game, doesn't really do anything other than find that pass.
It's weird because the number that you'd give him is, he's probably in like numbers. He's like a 9. He's halfway between an 8 and a 10. Yeah. Obviously, a 9 is a centre forward in traditional speak, but he can play 10, but he's more of a midfielder / number 10 type player. It's just someone that I do have a lot of high hopes for. And I think he's probably been the one player. I think the club have been very kind of quiet about how they see him, but I think what he's doing for Test this season, and it doesn't help when you have some of the big analytics websites like StatsBomb doing these sort of radars on him and just showing these like ridiculous numbers for a kid of his age.
So everyone
he's doing really, really well at least on a stats point of view. But it does kind of match up with what you see, which is also important. But I think he'll be one to look for I think potential interesting loan destination next season as well.
And that makes sense. I mean, I saw one point from someone in the stream called Rokan Dre. He made the great point that we didn't have one single English player playing for us in the first team today when we lost. And it's I mean, obviously the U team. I mean, obviously brief thoughts on the U team's win over Real Madrid, because I have one more call after this. But yeah, I'm thinking top English players for the future. I mean, we've kind of made all of them, and we've already got them for free. So I'm praying there's going to be some type of contingency plan to get these guys into the team. I mean, it disappoints. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if a Barkley was to move on next season. I wouldn't be surprised by that, because I mean, we've already made money.
That'd be the ultimate money laundering,
Yeah, it would be. Redknapp would be proud, but I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at Ruben and looking at these guys. I don't know. I can't be seeing the old school. Not the old school, but these fake. I'm going to sound harsh, but these fake top talents, like Barkley was one, Henderson was one.
Yeah.
It's like they only look good because literally England were producing fuck all, basically. So that's why they still got this reputation. Remember, Barkley was part of that freaking Jack Rodwell generation. Who else was one of them other fake guys that was supposed to be Micah Richards, all these guys, and we signed this guy.
I think, I mean, beyond the very obvious point that we have a group of English players coming through that are incredibly talented, I think the thing that we missed this season is actually having someone like JT at the club. And I say it because if you think of when he went to Aston Villa, their fans absolutely despise the thought of having Terry play for them. And yet, a couple of months down the line, he's the greatest signing they've ever had. Like you saw him, I think they beat Wolves really comfortably a couple of days ago. Obviously, big Midlands derby. Wolves are flying. I think they beat them 4-1.
Yeah.
Terry, and then the game does that. I mean, anyone who's been to a game knows he runs to the Harding end and does this sort of fist bump thing. The whole end completely erupts. And he seems to have galvanised that entire football club. He seems to have got all the younger players. Jack Grealish is now very much on the straight and narrow, and some of these other kind of younger guys who are losing a bit. Chester, the guy he plays with, and I think the club at Chelsea, we do miss that kind of Chelsea-ness. And I know it's sort of very kind of passion merchant, stuff like that, but it does kind of, I think, filter through, particularly when you've got tough moments in the dressing room and you've got tough times at the club. I think having people like JT and Frank who grew to understand the culture, Ashley Cole, even, they don't have to be English, Didier Drogba, Essien, I mean, these sorts of players that absorb the culture. I think they absorbed it from people like JT, from people like Lampard, who kind of really got what the club's about. Yeah. And you see like someone like Hudson-Odoi. I mean, I've heard from a number of people, he's like an absolute Chelsea sicko. Like he is just, he knows everything about the football club. He's been there since he was an absolute baby. Essien is like his mate. Drogba's his idol. Like a proper, really, actually out-and-out fan. You want these guys playing for you at the club because I do think, particularly in the tough games, that they do go just that little % more, and you do get a little bit more out of them. And I think also, as I said, beyond the point that they're obviously very talented, I just think that their attitude, particularly, we're talking about the Real Madrid game, they go down to 10 men against. I mean, it's Real Madrid's academy. They're not going to have a bad academy. They're not going to have bad players. They've got some very, very good players, and not only do they win the game, they actually score again. It's a different kind of mentality. They're sort of brought up. Jody Morris, Andy Myers, these sort of very traditional Chelsea people have kind of installed that sort of confidence and that kind of that sort of like Chelsea Kings Road swagger into the players, which you see in how they play when they go to adversity. Even in that the Lincoln game in the Checker Trade Trophy. I mean they're playing against men. They're getting a bit physically kind of beaten around the bush because you've got 16.5 stone centre backs playing against Dyshorn Redan, who's about 10 stone. And yet they still score an equaliser. They still take it to penalties, and I just would love to just see some of that in the first team, because I think sometimes you see, particularly the City game. I don't want to keep going back to it, but Fàbregas walking, William doing his boots up in the background, Gary Cahill like adjusting his shin pads. It does irritate me a little bit, but I would love to see it.
That's one more point, because obviously I like having you on, so it's hard to just watch you go like that. But
that's okay.
I was gonna say I always say one quick point, but that point you made about players heads down, etc. Well, again, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but I've always seen it like this. See, obviously, let's say you're like a writer. Let's say, you've graduated uni. Yeah, I'm going to be the next big investigative journalist. I want to expose, the new Watergate or whatever. You know what I mean? And then, but the actual reality is that, there's all these BuzzFeed jobs everywhere. You know what I mean? So your dream is that reality is going to hit you.
10 ways doing X, Y, Z today.
And I kind of feel that Chelsea have, we all these big players we've signed, your Hazards, your players of that ilk, they left, Journal Uni or whatever. They had all these big dreams, and the reality is they're doing things that they don't like. And I think naturally you kind of reach that mental block where it's like, I think once you get disappointed so much, you don't care as much. That's what I mean. I think that's the scary thing.
Just gonna say, when you grow up playing football as a kid, particularly like in the playground and stuff like that, you're not playing football to track back or to like keep 2 banks of 4 in the playground. You're playing it for enjoyment. You're playing it for the kind of love of the game. I think you're right. I mean, I think there comes a point where these are still okay. They're very highly paid people, but they're still people. They still obviously have their tendencies, and I think Hazard's probably the best example. I think he's maybe never going to have this killer instinct that I think everyone would love to kind of like push into him, give him like Frank Lampard's work ethic or whatever. But that's what he is. That's the guy he is, and he enjoys football. And maybe if you as I said, over these kind of last 5 years, he's just been kind of, not, I wouldn't say worn down, because I think, again, we see him kind of put out exceptional performances. No, I wouldn't say when he wants to, but he is generally very good when he plays. So, yeah, I think you're right that there is definitely an aspect of these. Particularly, you've got a lot of Spanish players and Brazilian players who obviously have at least probably have some concept of how football should be played. I would imagine.
Exactly.
I think it involves Conte dropping the word "suffer" 55 times in a press conference for the Barcelona game. I mean, to be honest, that is one of my favourite things about Conte. He's very consistent with the suffering. Family back home, when he comes home and loses the game, they have to suffer for ages. No dinner, no nothing, no wine. But yeah, he does make me laugh. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that but this all comes for me. Again, I think these are points that some people made earlier, but this all comes back to the club. They have the ability. I think this summer, and maybe the Europa League could be a blessing in disguise in this respect, that they can kind of reboot the club. And I think a lot of fans, particularly reasonable fans, would take having even a step or two steps backward just to kind of set the foundation, because you look at the direction that Liverpool are going and Tottenham, and yes, everyone was laughing that Tottenham got beaten in the Champions League, but the direction they're going in without that much investment, really, compared to us, they don't have our academy. It's a lot more positive. And even Liverpool, I think Klopp is now starting to sort of figure it out. And again, it's taken him a lot of time. And you could argue that neither Pochettino or Klopp would have that time at Chelsea. They probably would have been sacked 3 seasons ago. But yeah, I think it's just something that the club needs to kind of they need to sort of figure out a different path now. This whole hiring, firing, and getting different players and.
Yes, wasting everyone's time, basically. Yes. Fans too. Wasn't there something about was there something did Gabriel Marcotti retweet or something about how there's less fans going to the game? There was some stat. I'm paraphrasing a lot, but there was some report that was released. There's something and it's not looking too good for the future. No, I did it wrong, but I think Company, Lineker must have tweeted something. Then Company, obviously quote tweeted. About obviously how I thought it was interesting, and this is the type of insight I wish professional players use their accounts for. I don't care about what you're doing in the weekend. I don't care about your stupid selfies. I don't care what you're spending your money on. You know what I mean? When Company made that point that the fans have a big psychological impact, obviously, in helping you boost the testosterone. With testosterone, you're more confident when you're pro. I mean, of course, it makes sense. So, I mean, football's a simple game. It's really not too. I think it's become more complicated now that people want to use football clubs as an investment. But fundamentals are similar. But that's literally 2 quick things. One, I've been thinking about Sampaoli a lot. I'm thinking, I like my foresight. I'm thinking that in the World Cup in the summer, people are going to be talking about this guy a lot.
Yes.
Start seeing what Argentina is going to do. I think he's going to be available after the World Cup. Maybe if he's won it with Argentina, who knows? But I think he'll be available after that. And he's going to be like, you know what? I've done what I can. I want to start getting back into club management. Do you think this guy should be the new manager? Because we've already spoken to him. He'll probably cost nothing as well. Plus, I think he's a fantastic manager.
This may be a fairly big statement for people who maybe don't know Sampaoli as well, but I think he's a better version of Sarri. And I know people who watch Napoli may find that a bit far-fetched because Napoli are a fantastic team. But what Sampaoli did, I think, with Chile when he was the national coach there, I mean, they were one of the best teams. And again, what you've got to factor in is that at international level, he's not spending days with the players. It's just 2-week training camp here, a weekend or whatever. How he got them playing in such a short period of time was incredible. I think, at club level, I thought at the time when we hired Conte that I thought Sampaoli was a bit of a risk. But now I think we've gone through kind of the Conte phase and these, I think actually you've kind of coined the term that everyone uses now, these CV managers, which I quite like that term. But these sort of rock star managers, your Allegri's, your Simeone's, they're going to come in and do pretty much similar sorts of things. And I think with the Sampaoli, I think the benefit you would have is if the club do have a strategy in mind, and I really do hope that we're heading towards this proper kind of sporting director model, he would be at least more amenable to work with. Like, he would take direction rather than coming in and saying, okay, I want 55 players, or I think Guardiola's famous saying that he would need 9 starting players if he was to be the Chelsea manager. He said that like ages ago. But
yeah,
I do like Sampaoli, and this this is not to dismiss Sarri. I think Sarri's a fantastic coach. I just think Sampaoli maybe is a little bit better defensively. I think Napoli occasionally, particularly against some of the better opponents, occasionally they do kind of go down the sort of suicidal football a little bit too much. Yeah. And they do get caught out a little bit, but I do like both of them. But Sampaoli would be a really interesting point.
Exactly. I mean, I really, because here's the thing, I didn't know, other than Chile, who were fantastic. Obviously, we haven't seen what you could do in Europe. And I watched Sevilla under him last year. Every time they play the big teams, I mean, they outplay them in every game.
Yeah.
The only thing that came down to them not getting the wins was the fact that obviously they don't have a lot of great players in terms of the ones that will make that consistent difference. And I was seeing the style of play. What he turned Nzonzi into. This guy, this guy at Stoke was just like a poor man's Bakayoko or something.
Yeah,
just in terms of just
bossing Man United.
Yeah, and this guy now he can dictate the play, and he's playing by himself in midfield as well.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, this guy. Honestly, I think it's time. When I look at how football's going in, it's just there's a reason why there's a new style of manager that's been coming out now. You know, I think the old school managers like your Conte's, Mourinho's, I think their time's up. I think with how football's changed tactically, I think the introduction of let's say how the number 10s evolved, how there's more number 10s in a team, for example. You know what I mean? Like players playing in the half spaces now that weren't really there beforehand. I kind of feel that it's time for us to embrace this new style because we've got the players. I mean, look at the youth team are the biggest example of just how well this works. Now, this is actually the last point I wanted to ask you. I kind of feel that the coaching behind them really doesn't get enough credit at all. Now, I know we've got a lot of fantastic players, but I just kind of feel that if these fantastic guys didn't have the fantastic system and setup to play in, then there's no way you'd be seeing like the maximum potential of all of them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the really interesting thing, and this might be a slight tangent, but hopefully it'll be fairly interesting for people to hear, that the whole model for the Chelsea Academy, when they were looking to kind of implement this new structure that they've put in that started to produce all these players, one of the guys that I know from the club, he was the sort of person who put this structure in. He was like head of education, or he had some kind of some sort of title like that, and he travelled around the world. He travelled to Barcelona, he went to Ajax, he went to Bayern Munich. He went to all of the top clubs and he was like, no, this isn't really kind of the sort of model that we want to do. Then he started looking at other sports. He started looking at rugby. So he was going to sort of Harlequins and Saracens and yada, yada. Went to America to look at how college teams are set up over there, because a lot of these college American football teams have absolutely world-class facilities and they have world-class development programs. Yeah. They actually... well, the crazy thing is they went to all these world-class, traditional, kind of very masculine sporting places, and they couldn't find the right fit for the academic side and the football side. Yeah. And they ended up going to a ballet school about 30 minutes up the road from Cobham. I think it's very good. I can never remember the name of it, but this ballet school, they actually went there and they looked at the development of how they were doing things, and they were like, this is perfect. So the entire Chelsea Academy model, from the guys going to school there, the kind of the development and the physical side of things, and how they're trained, all comes from a ballet school in Surrey, which I find absolutely incredible. If you think how many top footballers Chelsea have produced over the past 10 years that have come through that model. But yeah, I mean, to take it back to the coaching question, I mean, you're talking about players who come into Chelsea's under-18s team have probably, for the most part, now been there since they were 6, 7, 8 years old. Yeah. So not only is it the coaching, but it's the guys identifying these kids at 7. I mean, I think I've been spoken maybe a little bit about how I'm sort of getting into scouting and sort of going on courses and stuff like that to try and pick that up as sort of a hobby. But the work that goes into picking up a 7-year-old and saying, that Hudson-Odoi 7-year-old, he looks pretty good. You know, like how do you know that he's going to turn out to be this World Cup winning absolute baller at 17? It's crazy, but Chelsea consistently get both the identification of talent right, but also the development, because there's so many have been at the club for over 10 years, and you find that insane when JT was being ordered for being here for such a long period of time, but in some cases now the longest serving player at the club might be, I don't know, Trevor Chalobah, who's been here since 8. He's been here 11 years, for example. Which I find that yeah, just really, really sort of mad. And yeah, you're right. You know, guys like Jody Morris and I think I was his name's Joe Edwards, who I think he's under 19s team. I think Edwards is a name that probably people don't necessarily give as much credit to, but he's probably, I would imagine, in Chelsea's eyes, the one on the top of the pecking order. Yeah. He's got his Continental Pro license. He's done all the scouting stuff. He took a year out to do player evaluations. He is very much the golden child of Chelsea. And Morris actually was his assistant for quite a while. So Morris obviously picked up a lot of the stuff from Edwards. So Edwards would be the one that I think would be, the one to account for. And that's not to dismiss anything that Jody's done, because again, you can look at how just incredible his teams are. They can play any style of football. They can attack. They can play defensive. They can be physical. They can be technical. They can put it all together. They can do different bits and pieces.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a really, really well-oiled machine that I think from front to back is, it's a world-class kind of conveyor belt of talent. But the young goal is, to start getting through these guys into the first team. And what's really interesting for me, and I think this is something I've actually said to people at the club, is if we can pick up the best young players, if we can scout the best young players as well, why can't we go and scout a midfielder in his 20s? Mm-hmm. That kind of. Yeah, you're projecting a 7-year-old who's going to be good when he's 18. Like, that's 11 years of stuff that can happen to him.
That's fantastic.
Pick up a player in their 20s.
What have they given any reasons as to why maybe it's a bit more difficult? Maybe you're older.
I'm really, really not sure. I mean, but this. I think this is the thing is, the club should come up with a set of criteria, whether it's athleticism, if it's to do with technical stuff for a midfielder or a forward that they want, and then try and identify them rather than
philosophy comes into play because of it.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the hardest thing and the thing that we do tend to get quite wrong is we tend to buy players who maybe aren't necessarily they're good footballers, but they take either a very long time to settle in England, or they don't settle at all. I mean, Morata for me at the moment looks like he might not settle. I don't know if he will settle in the Premier League. I think that there's a lot of a gap with him. Bakayoko, again, another player who I think is struggling to settle with the pace. Yeah. I think that's the thing that's the hardest to assess, because you've got a player who can look fantastic in League One, but if you take a touch and it goes a yard away from you, you might be able to recover it. Famously, famous Robert Perez quote was that in the Premier League, you don't even have a second to think about your first touch. You're just touching it and everything is kind of reacting. So if you're used to sort of having your time, then it's a bit of a change when that's kind of your game, is to maybe take a touch, get it out your feet and run with it, rather than in the Premier League when you've got players just trying to drop kick.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to sound kind of mean, because obviously I saw Bakayoko a lot last year.
Yeah.
And I to this day, I still don't understand what many big teams saw in him. And this is what, I mean, does this come down maybe to the power of agents? Because I can imagine how football works behind the scenes, agents, clients, we're all friends. They want to help each other out. They make money off certain deals, etc., etc.
The whole Pato and Falcao thing. We were apparently the reason we were interested in. I think those are Jorge Mendes players. Was that we wanted to sign Griezmann, and the crazy thing is we go down this route with these players on loan. Yeah. And Griezmann is still an Atletico Madrid player and is probably never ever going to be considered to be at Chelsea. So you're trying to sort of curry favour with these sort of super agents who tend to hold a lot of players.
Yeah.
Was it Mino Raiola with Pogba, and he's got some other big players as well. But you do these sort of very strange decisions. Like, I mean, I don't think anyone would have seen Pato coming in on loan as a sensible option, but you're kind of doing, as you say, to kind of to curry favour with agents potentially to win them over.
Exactly, perfect point. Because obviously, Pato's agent, I think, isn't. I can't remember exactly, but I know some of the Brazilian Piazon and Luis and players.
Yeah,
under him. Exactly. So it's just, the funny thing is, I mean, if I honestly feel, when I used to play Football Manager too, that really does give you an accurate representation of how football works. I really feel people maybe don't realize it as much because it's a game, but it's really more of a simulation now than the game, so that a lot of the youth managers, they do tend to get they get promoted, don't they? So do you think there's a chance that Morris will take over the development team, and maybe Lampard could potentially take over the under 18s, or will there be someone from the under 15s or whatever?
I think potentially what you might see next season is someone like Joe Edwards being promoted to the first team, and this is purely on merit. Yeah, this is a lot of people, and in particular, you hear it from agents who have got links to sort of the England setup, that new Bishop's Abbey or whatever that new places they've got, St George's Park, sorry.
Yeah,
is that Edwards is like really, really highly rated amongst sort of England and the FA people, and this Dan Ashworth guy who's like head of the technical director of England, he's very highly rated, and Chelsea are thinking about pushing Edwards into like a prominent coaching role with the first team, because he's, I think sometimes the thing you get when you get into sort of established managers is you've got, I think we spoke ages ago about this training methods of Conte from like a 30-year-old Italian tactics book, but Edwards is modern, cutting edge. It's and I think again, if you are taking training sessions where players are having enjoyment and it's fun, which a lot of his sessions seem to be, I think it adds value, and I think that they probably will look to maybe promote him. I think Jody maybe goes up to the 23s. Yeah. Maybe the under-18s is Andy Myers gets promoted to being the manager. Don't forget he went on loan to Vitesse to be the assistant manager as well. And maybe Lamps takes over the 16s or the under-18s. But I do think Lampard will come back to the club in some capacity next season as a coach. I'm not sure if he'll just get chucked in at the deep end with Chelsea. I think he's almost completed all the necessary badges to actually manage the club.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. So, but I think again from sort of a logistics standpoint, you maybe wouldn't want a club legend on your coaching staff if you start losing a few games, because I can imagine Lampard being very like, oh, Roman, maybe you should get rid of the new manager and maybe give me a go. So, I think maybe bringing him in sort of at the 16s or 18s level would be interesting. But I think that the club actually, it's sort of weird that they're also quite good at developing coaches. We look at Brendan Rodgers and Clement and other people that have left the club. I think Adi Vivash is now assistant manager at Coventry. They develop coaches and they all tend to do quite well.
Yeah, this is what's really pissing me off now, because we can't run everything behind the scenes so efficiently and well, but when it just comes to anything related to the first team, it's like it's a completely different club. You know what I mean? It's just
it's crazy. Yeah. One of the points I've made often is, if the first team or the club want to see what a world-class establishment looks like, go and talk to Neil Bath, head of the academy. I mean, this is a guy who is producing, world-class youngsters. You can talk about them being adults. I mean, talking in the actual age group, 16, 17, 18, I mean, they are world-class. They're winning World Cups. They're winning European Championships.
Exactly.
They're winning Champions Leagues. They're winning FAU Cups every single season. You can't do more at his level, realistically. He's not in charge of who gets opportunities and who gets promoted to the first team and, who the manager currently likes. But in terms of what he's done, the structure he's created, the coaching, everything that he's done, you can't, it really is 10 out of 10. And, the club could maybe look at their own academy and maybe take some hints. Actually, talking about the technical director, slightly briefly, but Neil Bath.
Yeah.
Talk about someone who knows the academy setup, who knows the youth team players. I imagine he's got a fairly good network. He's bringing in players from Ajax and he's bringing in guys from France. And
because weren't they saying too that maybe Neil Bath will be the guy that will be sending these? He'll be finding the loan destinations. The guys that are loan. So that makes sense. I mean, you'd have to know. You'd have to be well connected to be able to do something.
Exactly. Like that. And I think with Bath, I think as well, if you gave him that position, he's incredibly respected in the game as you kind of know what sort of player he's offering you because they've come through the Chelsea academy, so they kind of come with that sort of rubber stamp of approval. But I think again the benefit for me is that he knows the academy players inside out. He knows everyone in that academy building from the age of 6 to the age of 20, 23, 24, whenever they leave the club. He knows them. He stays in contact with them. He knows their families. He's that kind of guy. So to have him then go, okay, this loan option, they want to pay us £5 million a year, but it's route one, it's no midfield, it's just who's for, and they just basically want you in as a rotation. Or this team that maybe will pay us 10 grand a year, but you're going to play every week in midfield, and they actually play a bit of football. I think he'd make that decision rather than the club's being run slightly on a more commercial basis at the moment on those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think to conclude this, I'm going to sound very bad right now, but obviously, the next, how football is. we forget about moments from a year or 2 or 3 ago. You know what I mean? It's always going to be about the future and what's happening now. Maybe I'm just thinking maybe the potential good things to kickstart this type of efficient running of the first team would be maybe if we don't get into a Champions League spot. I think we're going to need something drastic like that to start things. Because here's how I'm seeing it now. I was speaking to Luis Campos. Now, I don't know how far the details are in negotiations, etc. But I'm fairly confident. I just have a hunch he's going to come. That's all I know. There's no way, because I already know before that we've spoken to him sometime in like December or something, and then that report came out from some paper that we spoke a month ago. So to me, that must be the second talks they've had with him. Here's how I'm thinking. I made that point earlier in the stream that you know how originally he came from Real Madrid, and then Monaco had that different philosophy, and then when the owner got divorced, lost half his money, he had to revamp everything. He was the guy that set that up, and then they could still compete by spending way less, having a much younger team, and then
they were better. They were better afterwards.
Better, exactly. Better, and they'd be making more money than they would ever have dreamed of making in their entire lives. Now I'm thinking, imagine this perfect scenario. Okay, it's not perfect because there's no Champions League, but I mean, I could survive a year, to be honest. No Champions League. Some of the targets maybe we're looking into are like, fuck it, I'm not going to go to Chelsea now. It looks like Liverpool in the Champions League. You know what I mean? It's really, short-term, stupid players. But now imagine you're at campus. This is probably the perfect environment for you to kickstart your work, because now you're thinking, okay, and I can really stake a claim here. I can show these guys, well, you're in a position where we can't get a lot of top targets because there's no European football. It looks like maybe, let's say, potentially two in this scenario, Hazard's gone. He's going to Real Madrid. Courtois is going to go to Madrid as well. This would be the perfect environment for campus to be like, well, I've already done it at another club where it looked like things were going to be impossible. We were selling all our best players. 2 years later, I've got a team that's challenging and getting to the quarterfinal in the Champions League. 3 years later, they won the league. I can do this with this club for less money. I can get you much better players worth that value as well. Because think about it like this. We don't have any technical director, and we're signing guys like Barkley for 15 million. But then, that guy I'm always going on about, that Lautaro Martinez. Now, reports are saying that he's 90% close to signing for Inter, and he's like, what, 20 million euros?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, less than 20 million euros,
That does... Inter are smart, because this guy will be in the World Cup squad, and he would have cost way more.
Yeah, so I had a look at about 5 or 6 of his games. He's incredibly talented.
I know, and he's the type of guy that if you had that, that new style of football, I mean, he complements that completely. And I just can't understand why no one would even look at. I don't know. That's what I mean.
No, I did see a report that City and Real Madrid were
and Atletico
late to the party. But I mean, if you want a Sergio Aguero replacement, I mean, he's so stylistically similar. He's kind of like a mixture of Aguero and Tevez. He's quite feisty in that kind of Tevez way, but he's got that complete technical ability that Aguero has. Maybe more of a natural finisher than Aguero. Both feet. He's just a really, really top centre forward.
Exactly, and I think I think his link-up play is probably a bit better too. He's able to drop deeper. I mean, his trademark back heel passes everywhere.
He's got fantastic centre of a really low centre of gravity. The clips I watch of him in matches, he just spins away from people like their training planes, which I think is really, really interesting. But I mean, you're completely right. I think I might have said this on a stream we had a little while ago that the big transfer deals, or the deals that are going to be happening in the summer for some of these players like Martinez and that. They start now. The groundwork goes in with the intermediaries. It goes in with the club representatives. You start putting together a framework for a potential deal. So, ballpark figures on contracts. And again, this is why you often hear in terms of transfers, the terms are done with the club and the player before a transfer fee has been formally agreed, because they probably were agreed in February. If they're going to come in July, your contract will be this. You want to sign on this, etc. And it's quite telling that I don't think I've seen us linked to anyone yet. And by linked, I mean someone like Matt Law, for example, from obviously the Telegraph, or I can't remember who he writes for, but he's like incredibly well connected at the club. You know, I think the Campos story got leaked through him. So generally, you know that's something that's come from someone at the club.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this linked even speculatively to any players yet. So that to me is, I'm not going to say it's concerning, but I mean, given the fact that we seem to have been doing very late transfer business in the shortened transfer window this summer, you know, I want to be positive about players coming in, but when you aren't hearing whispers at this stage, particularly, I think some people are looking at like Leon Bailey and some other players who might not be superstars, but they're the kind of profile of player that I want to start to see us going for, that kind of top under 23 talent. When you don't see that and you see him being linked to maybe Liverpool or whoever, that's when you need to start worrying, because, you know, there was this, I think, I can't remember, it was might have been Jake Cohen or Dan Levine was saying, nothing happens until July. No, it doesn't. It happens. It happens from February onwards. You know, these deals aren't done on July 1st. They're done months beforehand. So, yeah. But no technical director who's doing the scouting.
Exactly. But no, you're 100% right. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to start feeling more confident until this Campos thing's sealed. I just hope it's not going to come down to, we don't want to pay this money for you because that would be stupid. You know, I don't know. I hope Chelsea aren't going to go down that route. Yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of good sporting directors. I mean, maybe we could promote someone from within the club. I mean, who else? That could just be another probably cheaper alternative. And
the only other guy that I'd be very happy about is Ralf Rangnick at Red Bull Leipzig.
Yeah,
just the amount of young talent that they've been able to bring through. I mean, I really like their centre back. Is it Daya Opakamen? I can never say his surname. Daya Opakamen.
The French guy.
Yeah, the French. I mean, they paid like 3-4 million euros for him when he was like 15, 16. So it's not small change. But you know, the way that they're able to use this kind of club structure they've got is incredible. And I think, you know, the talent he's developing. They've got a forward who's incredible. Timo Werner, I think, plays for them.
Yeah, Timo.
Yeah.
His finishing reminds me a bit of Closeness. Like.
Obviously, Naby Keita, people probably fairly familiar with now. Konrad Laimer, an Austrian guy who plays in midfield, is excellent as well. So, you know, he's very good at spotting talent and putting things together.
Yeah.
I think people maybe get sidetracked by his managerial career, but a bit what he's done since he's been in this kind of role. It's been pretty exceptional, to be honest. The amount of talent. I mean, Keita is just an incredible.
Even the story about how they signed him to. I mean, that tells you the level of obviously dedication, commitment. Because I think isn't that the Salzburg team in Austria part of RB as well? They have an affiliate link, don't they? Yeah. So I thought that was a fantastic story too. But I mean, honestly, football isn't hard. I just think the real issue is that, you know, when it comes to important decisions like this, I think it just goes to the wrong people. You know, the wrong people are in charge of the job. That's it. And anyone, you know, always these lawyers or these businessmen, you don't know anything. Well, they try and translate their corporate world to the football world. They think, it's all about results over anything.
Yeah,
it's like you get it for a year, but then they don't seem to understand. Oh shit, why isn't this working next year or the third year? I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, maybe a point to finish on, because I know we tend to go for about 7 hours on these. But if you're looking at a proper example of a football philosophy being done correctly, it is Leipzig. And I know sort of German fans don't like them because of what they represent and all this kind of Red Bull commercialization stuff. But I mean, they have come from nowhere to maybe being Germany's second or third best team in a very short space of time, primarily because of the philosophy of the club and the recruitment strategy and how it all aligns with the manager and how it just shows you how everything being in sync. And as you said earlier, the right people making the right decisions. You know, the football people making the football decisions and the Red Bull guys doing the Red Bull stuff. You don't want, the guy who's determining whether they should release a pineapple flavored Red Bull drink, determining who we're going to sign. It's a similar thing at Chelsea. At the moment, who maybe it's this Matt, whoever the head of scouting at Chelsea at the moment is coming up with players, but is he just a scout or is he someone who can put a team together? There's a lot of questions at the moment, and I would imagine if they're looking at Campos, I imagine they're looking at other people as well. I think Campos coming out being leaked. Chelsea for all, you know, I know we sort of rip into them that, but I mean, they will do their due diligence. They will look at a lot of candidates, and you know, it could have been that they went for a figurehead. It might have been someone like Michael Ballack, who just comes in and just gives a bit of a sensible, contrasting opinion. Maybe we don't want to do this. Maybe this is the best for the footballing side of things. He might not have this kind of scouting background, but I imagine he's a fairly intelligent guy. If you give him maybe a better scouting team, he could probably say, yeah, he's quite good. Maybe he isn't, that kind of thing. But I think, I mean, I would rather go with at least for the next sort of 3 to 5 years, someone who is a bit established, has done it before, has proven it that they've done it before, and maybe is aligned to where Chelsea are heading. And, you know, I'll go back to that point made at the very, very beginning. You know, winning two knockout games from since 2013. I think that's a real reflection, a real benchmark of where Chelsea are in Europe. And, you know, maybe because we've progressed, because we've had a lot of these obviously score draws, we've gone on away goals, you don't really factor that in. But I mean, 2 wins in four tries of knockouts. I know we obviously got beat by PSG twice, and obviously by Atletico Madrid and whatever. But, you know, we need to be realistic about maybe where we are, and also I think we need to obviously try and figure out how we need to get back to that level where we are winning sort of knockout games. We're not quite relying on away goals, and we're not kind of scraping through. So I mean, I would just love to see a bit more of a connected thought at the club. I think you know, this, you know, just to sort of end this kind of scattergun approach of managers who have got completely different ideas. It's led to where we are now. We've got this kind of disjointed squad, and, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Conte, but I do take his point. I don't think the squad is the best. I will give him that, but, you know, I think it's a lot of that is to do with the fact that you've hired probably our last 3 proper permanent hires. You know, AVB, Mourinho, and Conte are so incredibly different. You know, that's in a 5-year window. I mean, you can see how different that kind of philosophy would be. I don't think Di Matteo is really really proper permanent manager, and Benitez obviously the same. So but just get a little bit more of an aligned strategy, and hopefully, hopefully this, you know, to go back to your point, if we can reset, take a year out of the Champions League, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe we see some of these players come through. You know, I don't think we have to spend a ton of money in the summer either. You know, or maybe if we do spend a ton of money, it's on 2 good players instead of trying to buy 10 squad players. You know, it's the different philosophy. Bring back your Zimmers, bring back your Van Hinkels, bring back your Rubens. All of a sudden, you've got some good players that you can build around. But
that's the thing, though. I mean, I think a lot of people have this fantasy that maybe getting good players is easy. I mean, I remember that man's, you know. So I'm not saying this question to you.
Oh no,
yeah. That Man City game, we saw how both the Silvers were speaking about us. Now, we know what the dressing room. No, we don't know what it is. We just know dressing room culture in general. You know what I mean? Players talk. They talk to each other. I mean, it's easy. Agents. I mean, there's a reason why there's, you know, the newspapers have there's an industry of making money off of leaks and stuff like that. It's you can just imagine a lot of players probably don't rate Chelsea in terms of what we have to do, how we play. I can easily imagine Hazard being someone that's bitching to his Belgium teammates about having to do this, do that. I don't think it's that far-fetched to imagine something like that happening.
Company, you know, he's good friends with De Bruyne. You know, they've.
I think Hazard's one of the most popular guys I've ever seen in the Premier League. I think everyone likes him. But that's what I mean. I don't ever see us going. It would take us at least 3 years to sign a top class type of player. You know, there's a reason why. Even when you know, Roman came, it still took us maybe 2-3 years to be able to get you know, let's say established players like your Bellac's coming in, for example.
Yeah, true.
We were signing Ferreras and Cavaliers. They did well at Porto, but no one really knew too much about them. Drogba's.
They became great players at the club. They weren't great players when they came.
Because the thing is, everyone forgets this, but with the established top class players you want, they're not all of them are Sanchez. You know what I mean? And even then, I understand. You know, he was already like 31, isn't he? No wonder he's going to accept that crazy contract. But when you sign a top player, they want that stability. They want to know that, because here's the thing: they want to win trophies before they retire. They want to make sure if I'm signing for you, you're my best bet at helping me get the trophies I want. That's the only reason they sign. At the moment, we're not that. And at the same time, you don't want to suffer throughout, you know, the whole season. Exactly. Suffer throughout the whole season just to have a chance of getting there, and then just get knocked out in the round of 16. So I think, I'm not just but I just think fans in general need to lose this mentality of hoping to get top class players, because it won't be a reality for a while. Our next bet is to basically start over. We need to bring in a Ranieri, not even Ranieri-esque manager, but we need that Ranieri-esque mentality of, we're going to have this group of players all improve over the next 3 years. And then once that development's ready, we'll bring in maybe a more established manager that will take them to another level in terms of performance. I think that's what we need to do, is patience. I mean, I think we fucked up way too much to be able to just get a sick team like that now.
I mean, the point you make about stability actually is, if you talk to any agent, and you may think actually, obviously they benefit from the player moving because they get commissions, but actually the one thing that they always say to me is the most important thing for their client is stability. And that's one of the reasons why when they look at Chelsea, Conte might not be there, he may be there, what's going to happen in the summer, Hazard might leave. The kind of air of uncertainty on the club does not necessarily make it the most attractive place, particularly for younger players. So like those younger players that we might want to be looking at. And the reason is quite simple, because they say if a player's happy, they don't get any phone calls. They're not getting Paul Pogba at the moment. I imagine he's on his phone to Mino Raiola every day. Jose did this, Jose said that, Jose's doing this. I mean, imagine as you're an agent, you're basically babysitting a giant sort of millionaire. And that's what they say. They would much rather have a happy client who's settled at a club, because it's no phone calls, it's no drama, it's settled. When you've got a client who is probably going through something like Pogba's going through at the moment with Mourinho, it's a nightmare. You're getting phone calls up at like 3 a.m. because he's pissed off about something. It's not the best way for an agent to be. So you're right. Stability is key, and I don't think we won't have that for a while.
Of course, I mean, when I see fantasy talk of we need to sign Dybala, why?
What's going to come here for?
Yeah, please.
If Real Madrid come in and us.
It's not
being harsh to the club. I mean, there are levels which we maybe used to be able to compete with on players. I mean, I think Ballack picked Chelsea over Madrid when he had the free contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an example.
Danko finally thought, maybe Chelsea are looking they were probably a attractive club to sign for now. How many years was Roman Dick riding or twerking for him to come to the club? That's the new thing everyone says.
Well, I mean, when you really think about it, the last top player that we really competed with other clubs for was Hazard, and that's like 6 years ago. I don't think anyone was in for Costa. I don't think anyone was really for Fàbregas, Morata, and Lukaku. It was sort of like who they're going to go to Chelsea or Man United. I don't think we've really gone out for a really top player and competed with people for a while. But I mean, maybe people don't see that. But
of course, and we fucked up too. I mean, if there's an alternate universe of I mean, Stephen Hawkins would probably say it himself. There's a universe out there where, Salah, Lukaku, Mata, De Bruyne, Hazard are living happily. They're playing fantastic football. Everyone's jealous with the type of football we're playing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I wish I was part of that universe, but but that's what I mean. That was again, Emenalo, unfortunately, all his circumstances, he was creating this for the club. I mean, I literally need to stop going on about the same point, because there's no point reflecting about the past. I think we all know the mistake. It's just more about thinking to the future.
I think it's relevant. I do think it's relevant because, I mean, you look at probably I'd say maybe pre-Marina, and if this isn't putting on her, this is a very definitive point in Chelsea's history. We were somehow finding Kevin De Bruyne for £7 million, and we were paying that for Courtois, and we were paying £12 million for Lukaku, or I think we paid £15 million for Salah.
Yeah,
we were finding these guys who have gone on to become really top class players.
Yeah,
than what we've paid for Bakayoko.
They've all scored against us too this season.
And they've all scored against us, the real irritating thing, it's not that they've gone on, but I mean, they're all playing for clubs who are now above us in the league, and they're all very integral parts of the team.
Taking points away from us too.
Yeah. Even players like, I know we've talked about this before, but going out and getting players like Oscar, who was, he was a massive potential talent, but going out and getting him ahead of Tottenham and Arsenal and AC Milan and all these other teams that were interested in him. Sometimes those players do work out, sometimes they don't. But those are the kind of players that I'd love us to start targeting them, because I'd much rather see Oscar try and make it for the next 2-3 years and sell him for 60 million quid than go out and buy Danny Drinkwater and watch him waddle around the pitch for the next 5 years of his career.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, Oscar was like the first time he finally signed a top South American player, because for so long, you know, we tried with guys like, remember that Mateus Fernandez guy when he was playing for Colo?
Yes.
I remember that we were close to bringing him. He said no, he wants to go to Villarreal. Tevez, how long have we been working for this guy?
Yeah, Aguero.
Aguero. I mean, that Aguero one. I mean, I think we all saw the reports of his, you know, his love for Drogba, and I remember reading something about him being interested in joining, but we didn't want to pay the money to sign him at the time.
No, I think that was we didn't want to sign Aguero. I think the feeling was, and I might have read this actually, that Carlo Ancelotti didn't think that he'd adapt to the Premier League, so we went and bought Torres for the same money.
I think that's the thing I hate the most about adapting to the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's the biggest myth. I mean,
it's like City's
yeah, exactly. Sorry, man. Spanish players, I've consistently read them say in the Premier League you have a lot more space to play in. I've heard them consistently. Remember Michu? Remember that guy when he was a guy that was going to sign for Arsenal?
One-season baller.
Yeah. Now where the hell? Where was this guy? This guy, what, 18 goals straight away when he came from like league Division 2 in Spain. Like, come on.
Lots of Spanish players actually credit their World Cup win. So the core of that team were played in England. Xabi Alonso, that they actually credited their kind of newfound ability to deal with intensity because they played in the Premier League. So we've actually we've got tiki taka, and we thought, that's not good enough. What we'll do is we'll kind of add some English steel into it as well. So now the core of their team have all played in England. PK's played here, Alonso played here.
Ooh,
the other players, you had Mata and Silva and whoever else was playing here at the time.
Yeah,
they've all got used to the Premier League, and instead of it just being in Spain where maybe they might fall over, now they're sort of riding tackles and putting 300 passing moves together and scoring goals. So I mean, it's
exactly. Because I've always felt, so even though you know teams will obviously press you in this country, it's not as intensive. I mean, a lot of times it's more.
So
I've seen football as more rush.
Over to Silva then.
Exactly. In a way, it's more like kick and rush type. Yeah. Actually, now I'm being a bit too cynical. I think this year in particular, there's been a lot of. I mean, this is the first season where tactically it's been very diverse in terms of the approach this team to take, and that's come down to because there's so many foreign managers here, and there's better managers in this country. So that's definitely helps. I've always felt, maybe I'm being cynical, but if you're a top team, if you play a certain way, because if you're a top team, naturally you're going to have more of the ball. You have more of everything compared to smaller teams. If you're a Bakayoko, you really shouldn't be struggling as much. I think maybe you'd struggle more if you weren't as good as what people thought you were. I mean, is that cynical to think that?
No, I don't think so. No.
Conte was fine, no? He just came and just did his thing.
No, I mean, talking about tactics, I think the interesting thing, particularly about what Guardiola's doing, I often find this really fascinating, just because I'm obviously my day-to-day, I work with numbers and stats and data and trading and stuff like that. And the actual in the game that they played against us, if you think how in control of the game they were, I think they had 70% possession at one point.
Yeah.
The amount of fouls that they actually make, so they do that quick press. And they actually make a lot of really, really cynical fouls. But they don't appear cynical because they're like, outside your own penalty area.
Yeah.
They were averaging, I think we had about 18 minutes worth of the ball in terms of possession stakes. And they were every 2 minutes they were fouling us. Now, if you think in a normal game, every 2 minutes someone was fouling you, how irritating that would be. It's like 60 seconds and foul, another foul.
Yeah.
Because they have so much of the ball, it doesn't feel like it's so cynical. But when you actually look at how much possession they have, one of the main Guardiola tactics, which really no one really talks about, is he instructs the team to foul often and early. When they, if you press and you can't win the ball, foul, because it gives them very unlikely that you're going to get a yellow card on the edge of your own, on the edge of their penalty area versus your own. And it gives the team obviously the time to actually reset. Because when City have the ball, let's be honest, there's probably only company who's actually being relatively aware that someone might counter attack. So I do find that really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Pep really is. I mean,
he is the man. I hate it, but
again, this is what maybe pisses me off about this season, is the fact that it's the first time I've watched football. Obviously, when we're competing to win things, where I'm not necessarily angry against any of the rivals. I'm not angry about Man City dominating. You know, remember when we used to battle Man United consistently to try, and it's just like you used to hate any time they got the late winners, like against Blackburn, for example, constantly getting these 90th minute winners and Fergie time and all that nonsense. And yeah, I mean, I used to hate Liverpool, Arsenal, all of them. He never used to like any of them, but now it's just like Liverpool. I enjoy watching them. Man City, I enjoy watching them. I'm thinking, what the hell is happening? I'm turning into an Arsenal fan
because I know that I'll be like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like this shouldn't be happening. You know,
City's an interesting one because I don't feel any real rivalry with them, and I mean, and I should because they're
it's gone.
But I look at them and just think, oh, they're 300 points ahead of everyone else. You know, they can lose the rest of the season and they'll probably still win the league. But you know, yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting point. I think they have. Although what would be interesting, I think, next season, because I remember saying when Mourinho first came to Chelsea that we blew everyone away for 2 seasons, and it actually really pulled the rest of the big teams up to their level. Whether that actually happens with City, if United go and spend another $500 billion on whoever, and we go and become better, and Liverpool keep improving and Tottenham keep improving, you know, it's really competitive at the moment. It may not be the best league in the world in terms of style of football, but it is very, very competitive.
Yeah.
At least from 2nd to 6th.
Yeah,
first, but.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to the day. I mean, the Premier. I know when the Premier League for me will be the best league in the world is when teams like West Ham are gone, and it looks like they'll be gone this year. Thank God. Then hopefully that's going to be Burnley next season as well. There's a reason all these non-football teams are out now because it's different. It's what no one's understanding. Remember when that useless freaking Aston Villa team under O'Neill, what an ugly team.
Yes,
shit football as well.
Yeah,
they just went downhill quickly, and it's
like Birmingham. Whenever Birmingham come up, Birmingham are like the most boring crap team, and they get relegated. It's like what's even? I mean, the thing is as well. You look at Bournemouth. All right, they might be flirting around a bit this, but they actually came up and tried to play football, and they've actually stayed up. You know, I thought they would have gone down pretty quickly, but they have actually managed to stay up. Whereas you're right, teams come up, play this sort of very negative football. They seem to go down very quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Burnley, who are like 100% the absolute footballing equivalent of Brexit. I mean, Sean Dyche, you know, all like playing percentages, 4-4-2. You know, I don't know if you've seen the film Mike Bassett, but that for me, that's what the Burnley team talk is like every day.
That's funny because I was reading something about obviously Sean Dyche, and they were saying, you know, in terms of how he works on the defensive side of the game and training, he'll create all these scenarios, for example, where it's like, let's say the ball is, you know, let's say a corner is aimed at this direction or whatever, or let's say that the ball's crossed into you from here and it lands there. Players consistently practice on how to deal with that situation all the time. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. I mean,
like, how shit of a player you have to be.
That when I think when he applied for the Burnley job, he actually apparently, I mean, I think he said this on Soccer AM, and he actually did a PowerPoint presentation to Burnley about how he was going to transform them. And I can just imagine him there, like really struggling to use the PowerPoint that his daughter's made for him in like a GCSE IT class. But I mean, he's interesting for me because he's so against everything that everyone else is doing, and yet they're really successful. You know, you can't. I mean, they beat us, but then a lot of crap people beat us this season.
Think about it like this: you got to be a particular certain style of man.
He's an
footballer to be able to play like that happily every day. You know, Ashley Barnes. I mean, this guy's got a career in the Premier League. Imagine that. Sam Brooks. Remember, this guy was the guy that all the promoted teams would sign to be their backup striker. Remember, that's what his career was based on. Then he goes to the Championship. Then he come up to be a backup striker again. This guy's got a career.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. But anyway, you guys, thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Good night, you guys.